Okay, so in this video I wanted to talk about basic mixing inside of Jam with Maschine 2.5. Smart strips, which we've already looked at a little bit with notes mode, and these things are fantastic for controlling all kinds of levels and parameter controls. So to get started here, basically in our default mode, when we're in song mode or whatever, if we're on level, we're going to be seeing our group levels. These are the levels of each of these individual groups, and they correspond. If we have more than 8 groups, then they're just going to be over on the next bank. And if we want to look at instead, say, levels inside of a group, we can just hit level and touch a pad. This group actually only has 8 sounds in it. We can see right here. Technically, I could come through and with these, now that I'm in level and I touch one of these, we can see levels happening here when I play a beat. So it's pretty straightforward. And if we want to look at things that were on the next bank, say, because I had gone ahead and duplicated everything, it copied over the parts as well. But if I go ahead and mute these, so mute, this time when I hit play, I can see that I'm up in this bank. So we can use these arrow knobs to move back and forth between either 8 pads in a group or between 8 groups on a page just by toggling over with our D-pad. We can go ahead and unmute these and clear the rest. And we're back to where we started. We have our levels here, so we just touch level and a group to get back to group mode. We can also use our what's called lock mode and create snapshots. This is one of the great mix-oriented versions, or mix-oriented uses of lock mode. And I'll get into lock mode in greater detail in a little bit, but just shift lock puts us into lock mode. And so now we've got a snapshot of what's happened with this mix. If I want to come over here and remix to a different way, I will instead just now create a new one, hold lock, and touch it. So I have 2 different mixing snapshots of what's happening in that scene. Just one way to use lock mode. I'll cover the rest in greater detail in another section. We can then kind of take these mix snapshots and get an idea of where we want certain parts or certain sections to be. One thing you want to do with lock mode is always make sure that you save, so Shift G, and save it as something. And now those snapshots are available for you to work with. Let's go down to something else entirely. Looking at our AUXs, I've also in this session set up real quick a reverb, just the RC48 reverb on slot 1 of group G. And I've set first all of my groups to send out to that on AUX 1, as well as on this drum group. I actually came over and set each sound. I just selected everybody at once and set them all to that reverb. And then I brought everything down. Because in AUX mode, I can actually use this to control. And we can see how, as I move the mouse, now we're moving the levels on the smart strips themselves. In addition to controlling levels, I can also send my copy of the signal, an AUX signal, to the reverb. So I'm going to solo the drum group. And so now I have AUX signals coming like crazy into that group. It's a real fast way to be able to dial up stuff like that, so I'll unmute that reverb again. And aux levels, again, will also apply to regular instruments. If I want to set something to its default, just double tap. If it has a default, it will pop right to it. So now I'll unsolo. So now we know how to use our auxes to send a signal to, say, another channel, or a parallel compression, or what have you. We can also use it to control our panning. So hit level, and I'll use the whole group here. So level group, now shift level, here's my pan. So that's just keeping the drums in the center and everything else panned a little bit out. If I want to look at my sound level panning, come back over here, shift level. Now, I'm not obviously suggesting you pan your drums like this. This is just to make it really obvious what's happening, but we can hear how things are moving to one side or the other. So we control levels. We control shift level to get our panning, and we can do auxes to set up our auxes. All of these, again, group level or sound level. So that's a good look at the basic types of level mixing. In the next video, we'll take a quick look at working with control and automation buttons.